Hello, everybody. My name is Sharon Fletcher. I'm the Executive Director for the Houston Freedmen's Town Conservancy, and you're on Rolling Out.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Rolling Out Arts and Culture, the space where we celebrate voices that preserve our legacy and shape the next chapter of Black culture. I'm Vera, your host, and today's guest is a powerhouse in Houston's cultural and civic landscape. With 17 years of public service, a deep commitment to preserving our history, and she now leads the charge to protect one of Houston's most sacred neighborhoods, Freedmen's Town. Please welcome the Executive Director of the Houston Freedmen's Town Conservancy, Sharon Fletcher. Hi, Miss Sharon.
Hello,
So
everybody.
thank you so much for being here today. Can we start at the beginning? Like, what inspired you to dedicate your life to public service, and how did that journey lead you to historic preservation?
Oh my God, such an interesting story. I love when I get this question because it makes me think about like how I grew up. So I am a native Houstonian. I grew up in Trinity Gardens in Fifth Ward. And if anybody knows like the city of Houston, these are the inner city communities of Houston. And so being in those communities, of course, you see the things that we don't necessarily always have. But I saw the way people would come into the community and provide, right, and be a source of advocacy for our communities, if you will. I remember there was a time when we didn't have computers at the community center at the apartment complex that I lived at. And there was a gentleman who ended up partnering with the community center at Clement Manor, which in Houston is called Coke Apartments, right? That's exactly where I
Yeah.
live. And so bringing in several computers so that our residents could have access, right, to be able to do some of those things that were happening online using computers, making things a little bit more efficient, right? But at the same time, teaching people computer literacy. So me witnessing these things that happen across the board in my community, it sparked something in me to say, you know what, when I get a chance to grow up and do some things, I want to be in a position to serve and be an advocate. So public service was my natural route.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
after choosing public service, working for the city of Houston for about 17 years, I worked in Houston Public Works, the Houston Public Library, leading special projects and initiatives. And then I did my final kind of rodeo, if you will, in city council, where I served as deputy chief of staff for Councilmember Abby Kamen's office, worked under the leadership of Councilmember Kamen and also Mayor Sylvester Turner. And so once I was doing that work, I had an opportunity throughout my city tenure to be engaged with the community of Freedmen's Town. So over this period of like 17 years, I learned quite a bit about Freedmen's Town and learning that it was the oldest Black settlement here in Houston. It was the beginning of the Black Houston experience. And so
Yeah.
when I decided to transition, that opportunity kind of dropped in my lap. And there it was, an opportunity to work in Freedmen's Town for the Houston Freedmen's Town Conservancy. And I felt like in that moment I had found like my purpose, work that I wanted to do specifically around African Americans and well, me and my family and what we represent. That was really, really important to me to be able to be doing work that help communities like I came from.
So you spoke about Freedman's Town being the beginning point of Black history in Houston. So a lot of our viewers might not be familiar with it, might not be familiar with Freedman's Town. Can you tell us why it's such a vital part of Houston's cultural identity and Black heritage?
Absolutely. So as I shared, Freedmen's Town is the oldest Black settlement post-Civil War. I always say it's the oldest settlement post not only post-Civil War, but it's like the second coming of emancipation, right? You know that
Yes.
the initial proclamation was done January 1st, 1863, but Texas doesn't see the effects of the Emancipation Proclamation until June 19th, 1865. So 2.5 years later, you get this announcement that happens in Galveston. And you have folks who migrate from Galveston and Matagorda County and Brazoria and even Louisiana and migrate
Mhm.
to Houston, and they settle on the south banks of Buffalo Bayou. which essentially at that particular point in time, it was a swampland. It was uninhabitable. But of course, us being the fierce Black people that we are, we will make a way out of no way. And so you get
every time.
Yes, you get this community that starts off as a tent community, and you get to this community that we get to experience today that has seen homes and churches and schools built within the community. So it has been the journey, the African American journey from emancipation to Freedmen's Town is a significant one, not only for Houston's history or Black history, but it's an American history story. You have
Mm.
the where Black troops, US colored troops, are brought in to ensure that emancipation happens. You have Black troops that get stationed in Houston, where people were coming into the city of Houston and ensuring that African American folks were free, right? So it is a timeless piece of history, but it is also this place that began Black Houston and the Black Houston experience, as I pointed to a little bit earlier. So folks knowing about the Fifth Wars and the Third Wars, before that, it was Freedmen's Town. You had Freedmen's
Mm.
Town, that was the Black Wall Street before people knew Black Wall Street. At one point in time, Freedmen's Town had over 400 Black businesses. It was home
Wow.
to 95% of the Black middle class. It had the first two-story home built by a Black man, which was Jack Yates. Many people do know Jack Yates. And oh my God, like I love Jack Yates and his story. And I have a theme song for him. It's called What a Man, What a Man, What a Man, What a Mighty Good Man. Yes, he is. I can't sing. However, I think it's important to talk about his story because his family was separated when this fight for slavery needed to be kept. So his wife and children were taken to Galveston, Texas, essentially. And he remained in Virginia for quite some time, but he re-entered slavery to be with his family. Now, if
Mm.
that's not a good man, I don't know what is a good man to give up your freedom and re-enter slavery to connect with your family. But it also
Yeah.
tells why family is such a big pillar in the story of Freedmen's Town as well. So, there's so much I could go on, but Freedmen's Town is this beautiful, beautiful place that Black folks were able to build from the ground up. And we are excited as an organization to be in a position to preserve and protect the only and the largest intact historical place in this nation. There's not another place that has over 35 historical structures and assets that are left from the 1865 moving into what we know
Yeah.
today, current day of 2025. We have bricks in the streets that were laid by African Americans that lived in the community that are over 100 years old. So, we're excited to be able to do this work, but the community of Freemanstown is an important place that people should visit if they want an authentic cultural experience. People should come to Freemanstown.
So you're not just preserving buildings, you're also preserving identity, memory, and resistance. How do you define this cultural preservation, and how does the Conservancy bring that to life in real ways? Like, we know that they can keep buildings, but like, how does it work? How do we do it?
Yeah, so it's really important not only to be able to see and feel the tangible assets, right, in Freemanstown, but it's also a part of being able to reclaim the narrative and being able to protect the story and the
Mm.
stories that are within the story of Freemanstown. So the work that we do as a conservancy is not just around protecting those physical assets, it's also around amplifying and telling the story of freedom. So
Yeah.
at our Freedmanstown Visitor Center is where we host activations, events, and programs that allow us to take deeper dives into the story, deepen the connection of those stories, and really help people make placement of Freedmanstown and its time and its place within history so that they understand like what was happening. But it's also, I feel like this singular moment to really amplify and also leverage an opportunity for cultural identity and cultural pride. I have a connection to Freedmanstown. I graduated from Booker T. Washington High School, which was originally in Freedmanstown. Now they
Yeah.
moved the school to Independence Heights. Independence Heights was the first African American municipality in Texas. So it made sense that the school actually moved there. But in 1993, I had an opportunity to celebrate the centennial year of Booker T. Washington. At that time, I really didn't know what it meant, but coming into this work and having a full circle moment, I understand a whole lot better about my experience at Booker T. Washington and why the teachers made us have this standard of excellence that we could not refuse, and understanding why it was important for us to succeed, that we were in no place to be able to make excuses. So understanding the story of Freedmanstown and putting that with my cultural experience in high school at Booker T. Washington, which is the oldest high school for African Americans in Houston. It was the first one and the oldest one. Phyllis Wheatley and Jack Yates folks, they get excited too, but they were second and third behind Booker T. Washington. But experiencing that is one of those things that I take to heart to be able to use as I'm sharing the story of Freedmanstown with others, and to hold place for our children who need to be able to understand the past in order to go forward in the future, and
Yeah.
also understand that there's a place for them, for their legacy to be seen as well. So that's the reason why I continue to do the work, and I absolutely love doing the work.
So you spoke about events that you used to tell stories about the history of Freedmanstown. So now Juneteenth is coming up, and we
Yes.
all know about Black history. So the Conservancy is holding a powerful event, Juneteenth 161st. What can people expect from this celebration?
Yeah, so the 160 Fest, it commemorates 160 years of emancipation, but it also commemorates 160 years of this community being able to grow into what we see today. What
Yeah.
people can expect at the Juneteenth 160 Fest, of course, you're gonna have some good food, you're gonna have some good music, and you're gonna have some good family vibes. We are definitely in the space to connect and have a good time, but we're also in a space where we are talking about building each other up. So our campaign, Building What We Started, is included in this Juneteenth 160 Fest. So we'll have workshop over wealth building and cultural leveraging in order for folks to make that connection towards entrepreneurship, collaboration, and community, that will be hosted by Heist Agency Houston. We will have Black at Microsoft that is teaching culture and co-pilot in the space. We have an artist by the name of Eris Brown, who will be doing an exhibition workshop over her current exhibition, Space for Us, which is a poetry exhibition that is showcasing quite a few women poets and their journey into Freedmanstown from various backgrounds and spaces. And we will have a wellness moment by Miss Ravine Alexa. So we will be doing yoga in this space. We have plenty of games, activities, including dominoes and cards, because y'all know we like to bust spades and we love to play dominoes, right? But at the same time, we'll have some great food, we'll have some treats and things of that nature. And most excitingly, we're going to have a fireside chat with Dr. Marc Lamont Hill at 5 o'clock. We're going to be talking about this centralized conversation around building what we started and how do we continue to preserve the stories like Freedmanstown. And then of course we'll have a dance party at the end of the day that's going to have sounds by Soul Control featuring DJ Elevated, who's a native Houstonian. And so that's what folks can actually expect, just a good time and an opportunity to connect and celebrate 160 years of freedom.
Okay, okay. Sounds fun
Yes.
and enlightening too. So you're also hosting our road home the following night at the historic Bethel Baptist Church. Such a meaningful setting. What's the vision behind the program and how does it build on the spirit of Juneteenth?
Our road home is essentially a dance rhythmic expression type of performance. And essentially, it's built on how we connected and communicated with each other through dance and movement and step. And so, Jakari Sherman, who is the founder and creative director of JK Creative. This is his first show back at home. He's done some pieces in Washington, D.C. over Jacob Lawrence. He's done some work with Step Africa as well. But this will be his first piece featured in Houston at the Bethel Historic Church site, which is a historical church to the community of Freedmanstown. And it's been reimagined for the purposes of gathering in the community of Freedmanstown. People can expect, of course, we're going to have some beverages and things out there because it's going to be hot and that space is open, right? And we're in the middle of
Yeah.
Houston, but people can expect to learn more about the journey of freedom through dance and step and sound as it relates to our communities through that presentation. So, and
Mhm.
folks can come, they can get their tickets at houstonfreedmanstown.org. The tickets are only $25. And those $25 tickets continue to help us be able to do this work in the community. Our goal is to continue to bring things like this that help people connect to the story of Freedmanstown.
Talking about that, with Houston changing so rapidly, how do you make sure Freedmen's sound doesn't get lost in the shuffle? With some of the, what are some of the challenges you faced, and what's some of the victories you're most proud of?
I'll start, with challenges because I love to always end in a good victory, right?
Yeah,
So challenges, of course, just getting people to know more about Freemanstown. So that awareness and
yeah,
outreach is part of the challenging part. Being visible, so that people can see and have tangible experiences that they find meaningful and important and impactful. So that's been the challenging part. Of course, you always have to go through the maze of getting like local government and state government and federal government to recognize us at such places. But we've been privileged, I would say, like over the last few years with doing that work of getting, the city of Houston local government on board with the work that we're doing in terms of not just heritage
mm,
tourism, but also as it relates to preserving the physical assets in the community, working alongside a community who is brand new into the neighborhood of Freedmanstown and sharing that story and sharing why it's important and significant for community to remain intact. And because those folks are now becoming swift, great advocates as well. So that's been the most challenging part, and continuing, of course, to do the funding part. Because writing the grants, writing the proposals, ensuring that you have staff and capacity to be able to run a space and be able to provide programming and events and things of that nature. Those have been the challenges, but we are experiencing some great support from our local philanthropic groups in Houston, and also
mm.
those that are national philanthropic groups as well. So in terms of things that like we can be really, really proud of, Rebirth in Action is a project that we are currently working on. It's actually phase 1, 2, and 3. We have been able to get through a design concept report, which included the city. One of our partners in this, alongside of the city, is the Contemporary Arts Museum Houston and Theater Gates, who's a world renowned artist as well. But working through this Rebirth in Action project, we were initially awarded a $1.25 million grant through Mellon
Oh,
and through NEA in order to do this work that has led us to a DCR, which is a design concept report. And now we're in the engineering and design and procurement phase of that DCR. And we also have commitment from the city of Houston relative to the dollars to be able to do the below grade work of this project. And then our job, of course, is getting those dollars to do the above grade work on the brick streets and the revitalization, if you will. And I'm using revitalization very lightly because words such as restoration and preservation look very, very different when you're looking at historical assets. But being able to completely preserve those historical brick streets that we have left as part of this project is an amazing, amazing win for us, including being able to do some additional work with the restoration of 3 houses, a pavilion that will house the historic bricks temporarily while how the capital improvement project is worked on. And then, of course, that space later becomes a cultural hub for the community, for events and things like that. So there's so much to talk about in terms of the wins. We opened up the Freedmanstown Visitor Center just about a year, it may be 20 something days ago, and we've already seen great traction coming in. We've hosted
Mm.
the Texas Southern Universities, the likes of Texas Southern University, University of Houston, Rice University. I mean, like all of the groups that you can name, we have direct partnerships with a lot of these higher education institutions. We have quite a few corporate entities that are supporting and coming back and asking us to do presentations to their folks. So it's been quite a bit, and we're really excited about the direction that we're moving in. So it's been all good progress. So the challenges are just the things that we have to go under or hop over or run through, but the successes are on the other side.
So, as we look to the future, what's your dream for Freedmanstown in the next 5 years? And how can the community, like those watching right now, be part of it?
Yeah, so my my dream for Freedmanstown over the next 5 years, literally being able to see the restoration of the brick streets that we have left, Andrews and Wilson Street, being able to see the activation of the pavilion that we are erecting there and folks coming and just enjoying concerts and connecting within the community of Freedmanstown, being
Mm.
able to fully restore two houses that we're working on that we've saved from demolition. We currently have about $350,000 left to raise. We've raised over $600,000 for those homes, but we're
Mm.
wanting people to stay permanently connected to the community of Freedmanstown for those who have legacy and have roots there. I imagine those two houses being done and being in that permanent, affordable housing space. I imagine these 10 historical homes down the street from us being completely revitalized for incubators for businesses and local shops and artist residency. So in 5 years, I see a revitalization moment that happens in Freedmanstown where people can come, live, work, and play and enjoy a good cultural experience along with it.
How can people find you? How can we join these events? Then how can we find Houston Freedmanstown Conservative?
The Conservancy,
Sorry
yes.
about that.
No
Oh my
worries.
God.
So the Conservancy can be found at www.houstonfreedmanstown.org. You also can find us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. As a matter of fact, we're launching our Building What We Started docuseries on YouTube. So taking a look at the businesses that we've been able to partner with to be able to tell their stories of how they've gotten started. We want to continue to highlight that, building on the 5 pillars of Freedmanstown, which is family, education, faith, entrepreneurship, and community. So check us out there. And for folks who want to, just get in there with us, don't hesitate to come and
Mm.
volunteer. You can also donate. Many of these projects that I just mentioned to you are on our website for you to actively be able to give to. And so every single dollar is used for the preservation of this community, whether it be through the tangible assets and or the storytelling.
Thank you, Sharon, for your leadership, your voice, and your vision. And to our viewers, history isn't just something you remember, it's something we protect. Be sure to visit Juneteenth 161st and on June 19th at the Freedmanstown Visitor Center and our road home on June 20th at the historic Bethel Baptist Church. Because honoring our past is how we build our future. Stay tuned, there's more arts and culture coming your way right here on Rolling Out. Thank you so much.